Don't you dare make the Nepo baby cry. Because it's all we've got. It's all we've got now. In the music industry, the entertainment industry. What I've learned is that the music business is not an industry, but it's a dynasty. This isn't a video slating Nepo babies. It's quite a complex issue, I found out after researching it. But the rise of the Nepo baby is very closely linked to the decline in the rest of our ambitions to be in that industry. It's birthright. Blood is thicker than water. The dynastic ties that link all of the music industry and the arts together cannot be overlooked. And really the veil was only lifted in 2022, the year of the Nepo baby, which the New York Magazine declared that year to be. And that's sort of when the people on the internet started to lift the veil on that whole kind of realm of celebrity and who gets to take part in it, who gets to become a global success. Is it just hard work and talent? Is that foot in the door? It's just a foot in the door, guys. It's just a foot in the door. But now we've got to a point in the economic kind of system, the financial crises that are affecting most people, the cost of living crisis. It's no longer viable to be an artist anymore. It's no longer viable to spend your time being creative in the hope that you can make a career out of it. We keep thinking it is, but time, the luxury of time, the luxury of creativity is not for us. It's for the elites. It is a dynasty. So many of you probably don't know what Nepo baby is. I mean, a few people don't. I thought maybe it's just me, maybe I'm chronically online, but it's it's short for nepotism. So nepotism baby. And nepotism is when you get jobs, roles, opportunities because of who your parents are or your family. You're more likely to get an opportunity to get an interview at a job if your mum works in the company. You're more likely to get an acting role if your dad is Johnny Depp. If you want to know who a few Nepo babies are, Vulture Magazine did quite a good piece on it. So you'll be like, what's a Nepo baby? Who's a Nepo baby? Robert Downey Jr. is a Nepo baby. Gwyneth Paltrow is a Nepo baby. Drew Barrymore is a Nepo baby. Jamie Lee Curtis is a Nepo baby. All of their parents were either actors, actresses, directors, and had a direct link to the industry. Whew, so there's a lot. And then industry babies is another thing. So you're thinking, well, most people aren't the kids of celebrities. Yeah, but industry babies, and a lesser cousin of the Nepo baby, didn't inherit a famous name, but did inherit connections, knowledge of the business, which is what I'm always talking about. Kristen Stewart, daughter of a TV producer and script supervisor. Billie Eilish, daughter of a voice actress. Chris Pine, son of actors. Matthew Perry, R.I.P., son of an actor, a singer. Jennifer Aniston, daughter of an actress and a soap star. Sojourner Weaver, daughter of a former NBC president who created the Today Show. That's huge. It's a dynasty. And the longest running dynasty there are the Chaplins. So everyone knows Charlie Chaplin. That 110 years they've been going, the Chaplins, followed by the Coppolas. I think that's 53 years. Francis Ford Coppola, all of them. And then the Kardashian Jenners. I think that's 23 years they've been going now. Now, Beyonce Knowles, one is so complicated, I'm not going to read that out, but she's part of that as well. They've been going for 71 years. The reason I want to talk about this is it's kind of interesting how the music industry is taking shape right now. And you see all these people creating, you're like, wow, the hustle is real. But where'd you get the time? Well, do you have a job? Like, where are you getting the time to make all of this stuff? Where are you getting the time to pump out videos every day? Who's paying your rent? You think, everyone's just working hard, the grit. But if you have to go out and go to work for 8 to 10 hours a day, at least 5 days a week, just to pay for a bedroom in a flat in a capital city, that's where the opportunity, if you want to be a creative, are. Everyone says, move elsewhere. What? You're not going to get an opportunity to take part in mainstream culture or just cultural events if you're not within proximity. The main reason I wanted to make this was to highlight the luxury of having time to be creative, of having the ability to just mess around and fuck around with what you love and do without the fear of losing your job, searching for places that you can afford to live in, and then on those little specks of time you have, a day or two, to recover from 5 days of working. I mean, you can do your creative work, but what about everything else? What about all the other life admin stuff? What about cleaning the house? Do these people clean their house? It's so underrated, the luxury of having time to play music. I did a poll on the Jengo's Despair Instagram and my own one, and asked people if they think Nepo baby is a derogatory term, because obviously you can hear from my tone, which is just me trying to express something that I feel like isn't discussed enough, and when it is discussed in the incorrect way. The critique is misfiring in the wrong direction. It's ricocheting. But is Nepo baby a derogatory term? Most people said no, but only barely. So I have it here. Yes. 45% of people said yes, Nepo baby is a derogatory term. And if you want to know, that's 122 votes. No, many people have said no, were 55%. So that's 149 votes. So 10% difference. Not that much. Which I think is really interesting, because that means we're all viewing the term very differently. And we view nepotism very differently. And the public perception of a Nepo baby is kind of 50-50. It's not, or 55-45. Why would it be a derogatory term? So I'll focus on the yes. Why would it be a derogatory term? I think a Nepo baby would find the term Nepo baby insulting. If they were like, look, I'm in this new play, and someone went, oh, are you a Nepo baby? You're sort of eliminating every step they did to get there, which as a person living their lives, there's steps to get places. I gotta go act. Gotta learn how to act. I gotta go to my audition. Why did you get the audition? And the main thing is, Rebecca Shaw wrote in The Guardian, I think it was The Guardian, that they don't understand what their privilege is. How could you? And another writer said that affluent people see their success and their affluence solely through meritocracy. They don't see it as gifted to them. Like, look, your parents don't have to not send you to an acting class because this month, they had to, fix their car. That is very normal. That is most people. Like, it is an elite industry. It is a dynasty. And when you see people that aren't related to someone and are working class, and I don't want to get into the whole class system because I know it's a type of conversation that people find tiring, and weary and sort of apathetic almost to inequality, where there's a stubbornly low kind of anger towards inequality. And I think it's because most of us aspire to have the wealth and the opportunities of those people. So you don't want to take that away from them. You don't want to take that amazing lifestyle and kind of world. You don't want to dismantle it just in case you might have access to it. What if I get there? Surely I might have an opportunity. So you sort of glaze over it. An analogy I try to use when I'm trying to explain the frustration with the sort of Nepo baby thing is, once again, the talent, the hard work, it's there. But imagine we all took part in the Marines test, obstacle course, to make it as a Marine. My God, very, very difficult. If you get to the end of that, you deserve to be a Marine. So in my mind, the Nepo baby has completed this obstacle course or this challenge and is qualified to be a Marine. But first of all, was told where the challenge is taking place and was given a head start. So the rest of us, it's the foot in the door. You can complete this. You can become a Marine and have this amazing career if you complete this obstacle course. The Nepo babies get told where it is. The rest of us, we don't know. That's the foot in the door. And there's only a certain amount of spaces. Let's say there's 10 people, 2 spaces. The 2 Nepo babies get told where it's happening. The 8 of us have to just figure out how to get there, how to start, how to meet the person who gives you the Marine job. That, one completes the course. So they're talented, hard work, you deserve it. But the rest of us had no chance. We didn't even know where it was, and by the time we found out, you've already got it. So I don't know if it's a good analogy, but that's kind of how I see it, because we're not undermining the fact that you don't deserve, that you're not talented and hardworking. We're just showing you, can you please acknowledge that the whole of the entertainment industry at some point will just be Nepo babies if we don't prioritize different voices, because it's more interesting and it's more fun. And again, as a society, shouldn't we be like encouraging us all to be as artistic and creative, and just, it's just more fun. Rebecca Shaw wrote, Nepo babies should do what they want except complain to the rest of us. Because basically, she says, their defensiveness is annoying. It's annoying, okay? A quote from Lily Rose Depp says something like, maybe you get your foot in the door, but you still just have your foot in the door. There's a lot of work that comes after that. That's like the Marine analogy. Yeah, we were all qualified to make in the Marines, but you're the only one who got told where the fucking course was. The rest of us do not have what you have. And yes, it might be annoying to receive critique and criticism that you got your foot in the door, which I'll get to later, through your birthright. The price of that, just like the price of any sort of privilege, is you're going to be called a Nepo baby, and you're going to be called out on whether or not you deserve the spot you've taken in a prestigious role or a very high-paying role or anything like that, because of who your parents are, or who your parents know, or how wealthy your parents are. Because along with blood being thicker than water, money is pretty thick and will buy you basically the price of blood. So yes, it's annoying, but for that bit of you that finds it annoying, like, okay, let's say, okay, I'm a Nepo baby. I'm Lily Rose Depp. Johnny Depp's my father. I'm in an amazing film, not to mention I'm Johnny Depp's daughter, and I've had the finest strawberries and grapes my whole life. Oh, someone called me a Nepo baby. That's the struggle you face, along with working hard and being talented. Now imagine you're not Johnny Depp's father. Imagine you're Bill from Skegness's daughter, who works paycheck to paycheck. You share a room with your sister. Your bed, couple of the slats in your bed are broken. All you want to do is get enough money to go to drama camp. Sorry, you can't go. Like, being a Nepo baby would be like a delight at that point. To be called a Nepo, that's your biggest... I'm not saying that you don't have sadness and the whole spectrum of emotions and disappointments in your life. But when it comes to your career of acting, just say, yes, I am a Nepo baby. And I think there's a few people who did acknowledge their privilege. And weirdly, it always goes in your favour. Jack Quaid, one of the most Nepo babies in existence, son of Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid, said, people have called me a Nepo baby. I'm inclined to agree. I'm an immensely privileged person, was able to get representation pretty early on, and that's more than half the battle. So that's good. That's just like, yeah, fair enough. And then you kind of look at that person and then you're like, I like you. And that's another part of the battle, is just being liked. Alison Williams, star of Girls, whose dad is a journalist and news anchor, isn't in the same field, but as we say, industry babies are just as connected. To acknowledge that me getting started as an actress versus someone with zero connections isn't the same is ludicrous. It doesn't take anything away from the workout that I've done. It just means that it's not as fun to root for me. So that's kind of it. It's like, it's not as fun to root for the person with the privilege. You kind of like, everyone likes a backstory. Everyone likes a rags to riches tale. And that's why they often perform ordinariness. They emphasize the hard work. They emphasize all the hours I spent, the talent. And it's sort of performative because it's probably had to do less, and you're pretending you're like everybody else and you're not. And you're making us all feel like we can get to where you're going, and we can't unless something is put in place to allow that. People love gratitude. It does wonders for the soul, and it does wonders for personal relations. People think you're a nicer person. If you go, I worked really hard, it's like, oh yeah, because the rest of us we've been chilling. We've just been chilling. They haven't been doing anything. And like, I appreciate the defensiveness, because if your norm is completely different to everyone else's norm, like, you don't wake up and have all these opportunities and think, I'm so privileged. Like, that's your norm. So your norm, you will automatically find, without a doubt, it's impossible not to find hiccups or things that irritate you in your life, or obstacles. It's just some obstacles for certain people are much higher and detrimental to their survival. So you don't know. And I get it. But it's like a privileged blind spot. That's what I think. It's a privileged blind spot. You've worked hard. You've done the acting courses. You've done the auditions. You've gone through the roller coaster of emotions. Will I get it? Will I not? I'm sorry. Most people haven't got acting classes. Most people can't afford to spend time practicing, rehearsing. Most people can't pop their name down just to get an audition. The foot in the door is not a foot in the door. It's access to the realm. The foot in the door is probably 90% of the work in the entertainment industry. That foot is like a golden foot. It's a golden foot in an emerald door. It's situated in heaven or something. So don't use that, because that's all people want, is a foot in the door. And another point that Rebecca Shaw was making was, living as a normal person means dedicating a huge amount of your available energy to surviving. Like, that's what, most of the time, like, you have a creative pursuit. I think about it all the time. I think, I yearn for a creative outlet. I yearn to be able to write songs and play my guitar. I yearn to be able to just sit around, and I can't, because I work 6 days a week. I'm trying to do this bit, which I find quite difficult, because I feel I need to spend time researching, and then the filming, by the time I've set up, like, it takes a whole day to do this, plus the multiple days of research in between like, I might get like an hour or two here or there throughout the week to do some research, and then you actually need to rest. Like, you need to just sit and watch TV. You need to sit and eat like a bowl of pasta and sleep, and the chores, filling and emptying the dishwasher, mopping, sending parcels, picking stuff. Oh my God. Like, cleaning, grocery shopping, cooking, washing yourself. I mean, in fairness, Nepo babies do probably wash themselves. And it's not to diminish, again, the attack isn't on, it's less on whether or not they're great and whether or not they're talented, and just looking at the 99% of us that are experiencing such a curtailing experience of trying to be creative, even if it's not for a career, even if it's just for a hobby. It's sort of so difficult to have that space now that we're financially burdened. And I think back in the 90s and the 80s, and back then, you could work a part-time job and you could be in a band and afford a room in London for £200-400, probably less. When I first moved to London, my room was 400 in Holloway Road back in 2012. I mean, I just about paid it. That was like most of my money gone, because I was also studying. I had to limit how many coffees I had in a day, because I really enjoyed a coffee. But now you can't do that. You can't. The part-time wage is gonna get you nothing. So that inability to work part-time and fuck around and be creative and gig a couple of times a week, and then the rest of the time of the week be in rehearsal rooms and paying for rehearsal rooms. It's about £18 now per hour for a rehearsal room per hour. Who has that? And then what I'm leading into this is then the decline of the music venues. So music venues are closing. There's like one every week closing in the UK. And those are spaces where just the average person would go to perform, showcase, meet other musicians. Back in the day when A&R people used to come, maybe people would scout, or they'd develop, a following. And now sorry, I'm working. Sorry, I can't afford to go out. Sorry, I can't. Like no one's going to the pub anymore. The younger generation are not going out. They're drinking less. Pints are £7.50 in cities, sometimes up to 9 if you're going. Well, that's if you're going to like the O2 or Wembley. This video is going to age in a couple of years when people are saying it's £15 per pint. It's dying because of money. It's destroying us. The only people who can now enjoy going out are the rich. The only people who can perform are the rich. Unless you're lucky enough to sort of be plucked from like the masses by some sort of generous rich person who wants to back you and puts a load of money behind you, and just out of the goodness of their heart or some sort of need or want to do that, you're not going to be either attending or being the performer. So what is it? It's just elitist circle jerk of, yeah, we're going to be famous, and everyone else who's going to be famous and rich and famous and create art and create what is supposed to be the most poetic and beautiful things that for us all to consume, that represents reality and what it is to be alive. These are the people, and that's great. We need people who are rich and famous making stuff because they represent a proportion of society, so they should have a voice. But they can't be the voice, right? They can't be the only people to describe what beauty is. They can't be the only people to describe what suffering is, because their suffering is different to the suffering of the person down the road. It's like the person living on the street, the person who has a normal job but can't dedicate their life to writing music, or has heartbreak, or has to decide between going to a gig or saving up to go on a holiday once a year. And the love that they want and need and crave, and the community they crave just to feel like being alive is worth it. We need to hear art and music from them. And if your parents are rich, you are rich. You're rich in time, you're rich in security, you're rich in a sense of safety and comfort that, my God, do not underestimate that. The idea that you do not need to solely survive every day is beyond a luxury. That you can just sit and think momentarily about something other than what's going to happen next. Am I going to be okay? Sorry, I got emotional there. So what I was basically saying is that for the person in that 1%, 0.1%, the Nepo baby, survival isn't even on their radar. You can fail. You'll be okay. Other people cannot, if they pursue the creative arts and put aside the career trajectory, all these basic things that we don't talk about when it comes to pursuing art. People go, if you could just pursue what you want as if you cannot fail. Yeah, but if I do fail, the consequences are detrimental to the rest of my life in such horrendous and horrific ways that is it worth it? Is it worth it? If you succeed, yes, but there's only a few slots in those realms and those industries and those acting opportunities. And even Nepo babies are now competing against Nepo babies. So they would say, oh, I don't necessarily get cast in the role, but you have a higher chance. If you dedicate your entire life to the arts and then you're 50, 45 if you're a woman, 40. If I was 40, had done nothing else but try and write songs and had done nothing in terms of a career to show for it. I mean, spiritually, probably very nourished. In reality, very poor. As I get older, as I hit menopause, as my body starts to age, as rents go up, as I don't have a home that I own, medical bills, all this stuff we don't like to talk about because it's so depressingly despairing, but real. Because the social fabric is breaking down, the welfare state is breaking down. People are questioning, why should we support people on a broader level, which we all know about. And you think the arts, oh, this is a sacred space where we don't have to worry about this. This is where we talk about these issues. It's basically life or death. Do you want, when you're in your 70s or 80s, struggling to pay for food? So you're lucky if you can just strum a guitar and make a living out of it. Or strum a guitar, and actually, it doesn't matter if you make a living out of it or not. You'll be fine. You don't need to make a living. For your self-worth and sense of purpose, you probably do. But you don't have to. So I was reading an academic paper, again in my pursuit to give some legitimacy to this video. And it's interesting. I'll put a link to it in the description. I haven't written down the person's name here, but it is a research paper on Nepo babies and the myth of meritocracy. Meritocracy is the idea and the ideology that you achieve goals through merit, hard work. You know, your merit is linked to basically whether or not you are qualified to do the job in itself. So the opposite of something being gifted to you is, you've got there through merit. I mean, some of you already know this, but just for those who might be like, what the hell is meritocracy? So it was quite a good academic paper. It was trying to figure out how the media frames nepotism and Nepo babies, and how how it's received in the media, how it's framed, and how this affects our idea of the music industry and the entertainment industry, those who inhabit it, those who are in there because of nepotism, and how it's framed and how that framing is maintained. With the poll, 55% of people said Nepo baby is not a derogatory term. That would sort of fall in line with this research paper where nepotism is framed as defensible. So like you would defend it. You would say, yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with it. They're there on merit. They deserve and they have earned their spot in whatever arts field, movie, music they've inhabited. But then 45% of you are like, I would use that term. I would regard that as a negative term, because who wants to be considered a Nepo baby and achieving what they've achieved through the benefits of nepotism? In this research paper, they say media frames represent a pathway through which inequality is legitimated and maintained. So it makes us believe that's all right. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There's nothing wrong with inequality. It's just nature's way. And to an extent, it is nature's way, because wealth goes towards the wealthy. Just like cities acquire people, everything sort of tilts. There's like a magnet in certain things, like when someone has 5,000 followers, they're more likely to get 10 because people go, oh, well, they've got 5,000, I'll follow them. That kind of thing. Does that make sense? I don't have the exact words to describe that. And there's definitely some sort of phrasing that's correct in describing how phenomena move towards what is already popular. You know what I mean? So nepotism's the same kind of thing. So I was trying to figure out, like, what do you do? I'm feeling a bit despairy now. I don't know what the answer is. What do you do? What's the correct way to tackle it? Please tell me. Because I also have like an aversion to, we're doing a workshop on how to meet people in the industry, or we're all trying to do a workshop or to help redheads gain access to the blah blah blah. I'd be like, fuck that. I'd be like, I can get there on my own, because the rags to riches story is far more compelling than I went to a workshop and then they put me forward to a audition for a blockbuster movie where they had one spot for charity kids or whatever. You'd be like, you know what I mean? Not that's not good and really like beneficial, but I mean, it's not as strong of a gritty narrative, is it? I mean, it is quite gritty, because the reason that you have to do it that way anyway is because you live a hard life probably, or you're not, basking in luxury day to day in between doing some vocal lessons with your private singing teacher. But what's the right way to do it? Oh man, what is the right way to do it? Okay, I need to think about it. A clear example of how a Nepo baby sort of is primed for, I guess, the next generation of their dynasty is Beyonce's daughter, Blue Ivy. Now, I never really paid much attention to her or Beyonce or that family, but they are a dynasty. So you can see that that's quite almost like a thought out, planned business model. These celebrities want, or some of them want, their daughters to carry on the legacy, or sons, of the family name in music and entertainment. So I only mentioning Blue Ivy because I was scrolling. A clip of her dancing on Beyonce's current tour showed up. Now I think she did a dance, was it at the Super Bowl? She came out when she was 11, which she's quite tall, so she looks a little bit older, and she was dancing and everyone was thought, oh, it's cute, she's 11, she's not like, she's only kind of learning to be embodied. She maybe isn't someone who trained to be a dancer from early on like other kids do. And then she came out again this year, 13, like exponentially better. And in the comments, people were like, the greatest Nepo baby of all time, or she will be. And what I started to realize is she already has a fan base. So not only do your parents get your foot in the door, pay for all these sorts of lessons, give you opportunities, but you're coming with like a pre-packaged fan base, like cultural capital. That cultural capital is invaluable when it comes to wanting to pursue a career in the entertainment business. It's kind of like an inheritance, the cultural capital inheritance of fans and of the algorithmic power of her name. So I'm sure that we will see Blue Ivy on the stage, if she can sing, doing her own thing. She's hardly going to be Beyonce's backup dancer for the rest of her life, but she put out there from the age of 11 in front of, I don't know how many thousands people, tens, maybe up to hundreds, millions watching on their screens. And her life is not like our lives. I don't know if she is taught, by the way, this is not normal, by the way, this is a luxury, this is a privilege. And I know people are like, why should they? It's because we live in a society. You know, we all have to coexist together. And I always thought like building a society meant we're in it together. I know that there's competition and capitalism naturally makes us compete for resources. We can't all reach the American dream because it has to be built on the back of labor and people working below you that you pay less in order to make that. I know I'm really, I don't know what, I sound like someone who's just discovered, I don't know what capitalism is. It would be nice to know that, kind of like with the royals, they were taught, oh, you have not your peasants, but your subjects, and you need to lead as an example, and you need to know that you are living in luxury, but for a purpose, for the purpose of showing them what being a great person is, what being the best, closest to God kind of human you can be. And noblesse oblige, that phrase, the noble are obligated, I think is what it means, is when the rich and the powerful would accumulate all this cultural capital, wealth, access to all of this landscape of great art, money, and donate things back to the people, like libraries and, you know, like Carnegie Hall, Rockefeller, all of these great, huge, successful dynasties. They go, here's a library, you can culture yourself, or here's a museum, you know, and would share, at least there'd be some sort of give back. Like, we have accumulated and are going to continue to accumulate wealth and power, but here's something in return. And I don't know if that's being done really anymore. I don't know what's changed. I don't know if it's because maybe it's new money is different to old money, and I don't know. I never know how to talk about these things, but either I sound bitter or I sound like I want to dismantle everything, and it's neither really. It's just despair. It's just my Jengo's despair creeping out. The price of being the daughter of Beyonce is you will always forever be compared to your mother. That's going to do something psychologically to you. It's not as psychologically traumatizing as having to, you know, work a normal job and try and get, well, we're not going to get mortgages anymore, are we? You know, just get by in life. But it is psychologically interesting to, you know, be the son or daughter of a rich and famous person, and then the constant comparison. And that is the price. It's the price of entry, I guess, to that realm and that world. We all have prices of entry. People, you know, you want to be successful like your parents. The price of entry is you will be compared to your parents, and that is the burden you will have to carry. And it's annoying and it's frustrating, but you don't have to do it, and maybe just own it, you know, whatever. There's nothing wrong with the Nepo baby, but I do that when going back to that poll when you ask whether or not it's a derogatory term. I would never call the friends I have who have famous parents or famous relatives Nepo babies, because I feel like I am taking away their talent. And I do know some really talented people whose parents are also very talented in that field. And one in particular, one of the most talented musicians I've ever met. Their parent is also incredibly talented, so humble, so kind. And know that people want to talk about their parents, and it's frustrating. And technically they are a Nepo baby, because they're in a world, they have access to a world that no one else has access to with ease. And meeting all these amazing other musicians, and just knowing, it's an incredible privilege. And it's, might not be as glamorous as they say it is and all that, but that person is one of the most talented musicians I know, and deserves to be incredibly successful if they want to be successful in what they do. And I would say we'll put them up there as one of my favorite musicians of that kind. If I had to name my favorite blah blah blah, that person would be up there. And an incredibly nice, that's why I think Nepo baby is a derogatory term, because I would never call them that, because I know it would just seep all of the hard work and skill out of and skill they've developed over the years. It would just feel like you're taking that all away from them. So I understand this horrible line that you're walking. So this is never an attack on someone whose parents are incredibly successful. It's more just an observation and kind of a breakdown of where they lie in our landscape culturally. And another point, the reason why I think the Nepo babies is because it's a cutthroat industry, the entertainment industry. So if you're a producer or a director, you also want proximity to the most famous actors. And the people who are in most proximity to maybe your famous actor is their child. So you're going to hire them probably because for the name and then the access, and it's just kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And they're all guilty of it. If someone goes, do you want Robert De Niro's child, or do you want, Sam's child? It's not going to be as good a story, is it, when you're in the pub going, yeah, I hired Sam's child. I don't know who Sam is. Sam's child could be just as talented, maybe more talented than Robert De Niro's. But is it as good a story? Is it going to be in the papers? Is it going to help sell the movie? Is it going to help sell tickets? Probably not, because everyone's craving proximity to kind of what we all want. They are what we want. We want to be them, maybe, or we want to have just the ease of what their life might be or seeming to be. Obviously, the disclaimer is it doesn't necessarily make you happy inside. But just makes your general living life a bit easier and maybe more fun. Some people will be like, actually, this is a lot of fun. In fairness to the Nepo babies, if you're going to venture out there, you have to be good. So like what I said about Blue Ivy, she was 11 years old. People were like, oh, she can't really dance. I'm like, she's 11 and she's just learning to be in her body. So if you're going to be a Nepo baby, you're going to have to be good. So an example of someone who does get the critique is Brooklyn Beckham. He has tried so many things at this point. Photographer, maybe writer, chef. I think he's doing Formula One now. The poor boy just is trying to find his niche and trying to find his way, using the Beckham name, obviously, because his name is Beckham. He can't get away from it. He already has the press. He's got the cultural capital. Then he tries the thing. Oh, he is up to scrutiny. People are going, well, your parents are very talented in the world of the entertainment, fashion, football, I guess. Neither of them have gone for football, but or none of them have. Can he get a normal job now? Can he just he doesn't need to. That's the thing. He doesn't need to get. So they're kind of just hobbies, right? He's doing a hobby and then he's getting critiqued because everyone thinks your hobby has to be your career, and that's another issue that we have at the moment. All these fun things. You see something you really want to do, and then you want to make it your career, and then it kind of ruins the thing, and then the thing that you once loved becomes a burden. And yeah, so Brooklyn Beckham, no matter what he does, is under this intense scrutiny. He will probably find his way eventually, but that would be horrible if you're just like, oh, I'm going to do this now, and then everyone's like, that is horrendously bad. You are very not talented. I'm not saying people did say that, but if any person did that, I would be, if I was doing this and someone, let's say my parents were really famous orators, not YouTubers because they're, retired teachers in their 70s now, but I would hate it. Oh, if they people were like, well, it's not quite as good as blah, 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 I'd be like, oh, stop it. Stop comparing me to my parents. But that's the price of entry, because I could just do this and I don't have to go to work tomorrow. So I've just finished work last night and then, at 3 a.m. and now I'm doing this. So that I do feel for them. I do feel for that. But again, the price of entry to having access to all of this cultural capital, name, foot in the door, the golden foot, is the critique, is the eyes on you. And if you are good, those eyes, ears and critiques pay off. So his younger brother, Cruz Beckham, kind of released a demo or half a demo of a song. And it's kind of like Oasis and Beatles all mashed together. And it was going all over the internet and TikTok. And it was kind of good. Everyone was amazed, going, well, we don't want to like this because you're like a rich kid with rich, really famous parents, but actually we can't deny that you are talented, and we're enjoying listening to this. And he, then came out and said to the Nepo baby allegations, Jesus was the biggest Nepo baby, which is true. And people laughed at it, and it was fun, and he was kind of half owning it, and people were, people who were critiquing the fact that they really liked the song, but the fact that we're all hearing the song with zero effort is because of his name. And it's sort of, there's been other artists who've been toiling away for 5-10 years, probably might have created something that sounded similar, and we haven't heard it. And Cruz did admit, fair enough, I take that, I saw him replying to comments, and it was a very mature, and people really enjoyed his responses to the critiques, and it was just like, yeah, okay. And then everyone's sort of on board. He's doing his thing. People like the song. There's no sort of masking. Oh, I got here with hard work, blah, 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 blah. Because it's the art that sort of matters. And yeah, it was a nice way to interact with the people hearing your song when you are in that position. And he, I have heard that he is around some of the best songwriters in the world, artists. They come in, they jam with him. He has no pressure to release music because he's doing it maybe just as a hobby, maybe in the best way possible. Probably frustrating to the songwriters and the producers who want like a hit and want to, have the name behind it. But he's just having fun with all of the amazing opportunities and access and lack of pressure to, get a real job. I mean, if in my ideal world, we'd all just be making stuff. The robots, we'd each have a robot, and that robot would go out and do its thing, or we'd each have an AI, and then we would get the money from the robot's work because the robot doesn't need money. And then we just go around making stuff, gardening, making music. It just keeps despairing into some sort of utopia, which I know isn't going to happen, but at least we can aim for that and fall short somewhere. Shoot your shot far, and then if I, was him, I would be doing exactly the same thing, though I probably would want to do some live shows because I feel like that would be a lot of fun. Cruz and Burkel and Beckham are two from the same family, facing different challenges, having different outcomes with the name, and showing that talent is really, really important if you're going to be a Nepo baby. So we can tick that off the list. You cannot be a shitty Nepo baby. You need to be a talented one. So Sam Fender came out recently and said that the music industry is rigged. And by rigged, it sounds like, it's a competition. I mean, at this point, it probably is. And he said the music industry is 80%, 90% kids who are privately educated. A kid from where I'm from can't afford to tour, so there are probably thousands writing songs that are 10 times better than mine, poignant lyrics about the country, but they will not be seen because it's rigged. And that's sort of what I'm saying. The art and the music that we're going to now all be listening and consuming is going to be very one note. And I know we all feel love and we all feel heartbreak, but it's not going to be describing the world we're living in. It's not going to be describing the everyday life, which is what the greatest art does. And I know that sometimes things can be vague and you can interpret lyrics the way you want, but if you are just living as an artist with no struggle or no sort of slightly out of touch, and I know no one ever likes to be criticized for being out of touch because we're all living in the world, but You can write music about that, but that cannot be the only thing that we're consuming. It cannot be the same. It'll just become, we're already complaining that music all sounds the same, but if the lyricism goes, we're gone. The cultural landscape is going to be very boring if slowly the only people we're listening to and watching are the elite and the privileged. It's hard to know, what the answer is. And I don't know why I start these and think that I'm going to come up with an answer, because there is no answer. But then I remembered that back in the 90s, the Labour Party had the New Deal for musicians. Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter if you like Labour or Tory or Conservative or Democrat or whatever. This is about art, and this is about whether or not, how you want to see your society and your entertainment industry and the art you're consuming, the thing that makes you feel things and the things that make you cry and the things that make you a smile come on your face, or that you put noise cancelling headphones on and just drift into an abyss where this art is speaking to you and actually making you feel like you're alive. These are the people that are going to provide this to you. Who do you want those people to be? Or do you want to be part of that? And if you are not born to someone in the industry or a celebrity, the likelihood is very small. It's very, very small. And yet we all sort of strive and then are worse off if we don't make it. Let's say the New Deal for musicians provided welfare and a welfare state for musicians to dedicate time to training, touring, writing, so that they could feed and shelter themselves for a period of time, which allowed musicians, that didn't just say, when you go on the dole or the welfare state or whatever benefits, it's all about get an interview, and then you have to take the first job you're offered, even if you're qualified for something else. And if you're a musician, you're like, well, I'm not going to do that job because I'm trying to write songs. But they're like, no, it doesn't matter. So this New Deal allowed musicians to focus on creating and making music and trying to make it in the industry. And the music industry and the entertainment industry is one of Britain's biggest exports. It's one of if I had to say, as an Irish person, what's good about England and Britain, apologies to the Irish, is the music. I mean, my God, the incredible music that has come from this country is magnificent. And I don't know why it's not kind of nurtured more. And you probably think, no, it probably didn't work. The Zootons, James Morrison, they're just some of the names, the big, that you might recognize that benefited from this New Deal for musicians. And maybe there should be more things like that without the cynicism of, it's my taxpayers' money. Yeah, we're all paying tax, okay? I don't understand, I would rather the tax money go to someone making a song than someone just trying to get a job that they're not happy with. I don't know why. I don't mind that. If it's going to benefit as many people as possible. And yeah, people take advantage of stuff, but I don't envy the people who struggle and are on benefit. I wouldn't, it's hard. That's a hard life, and taking the chance, going on that New Deal for musicians and working your arse off to try and make it in the music industry just for a couple of years could really pay off and just give people a chance to not be stuck in the grind. I don't know why we're so focused on the grind till we die. And then I can never come to a conclusion like this because it's too hard. But this is the despair. What should we do? Is it a problem? Does it even matter? Do you care? Maybe it should just stay with the elites. Maybe none of us ordinary folk, or when we do, it's like a beautiful rags to riches story. Does the story or the background of the person matter, or is it just the art? Does it affect the art? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I'm overthinking it, as always. I just wonder if what we're listening to and consuming artistically, culturally, musically, if it's all elite people and people with privilege, is it affecting the art, and has it just become a consumeristic business? If you're listening to your favorite song that everyone's listening to, is it more of a product than an artistic cultural artifact? Are they just selling us products? They're not selling us art. Can we differentiate between that? If it's just to maintain the dynasty and the wealth. And again, it's the myth of meritocracy, because I don't think we're looking for the best singer, the best songwriter, the best art. We're looking for, everyone's just trying to make it in that entertainment industry. So we're looking for someone talented, but with connections and with clout and with cultural capital and a name, so that they can continue to fund and sell and produce art and movies and music. So I think the reason why it might be good to look elsewhere is, what if we find something magnificent? What if we find something great? But maybe there's just something great that we just don't, we need to be looking for greatness and magic, I think, rather than opportunity and clout and cultural capital. And I know that if I was obviously making a movie and I could get someone famous in it, so people would, you just want eyes, you want to find your audience, and to find your audience, it's best to use someone who already has one, right? But we need to find let's find something great. We can find that they might be someone who already has, might be someone with ties to the industry that could make something great. But we should be looking everywhere. We should be mining for greatness everywhere, not just where it's easy and where people, it just becomes a bit incestuous, doesn't it? People thinking the same, acting the same. You need to delve outside. I could find something amazing. Maybe that should be the aim, rather than saying this person can't do this and we should do this or do that. She's looking for greatness, harvesting it somehow, nurturing it. Because, when it does happen, when you are hit with greatness or a great song, it's lasts a lifetime and beyond. Yeah, let's do that.